All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Thursday, December 9th, 2021, 10 a.m. agenda meeting. Mr. Lee, would you lead us in the pledge and Mr. Thomas in the prayer, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Okay, all right. First item is, I'd ask if anybody had any green cards. We have one. So we have Miss Cindy Sellers wants to speak on Venture Global CP2.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
As you all know, the governor just announced last week, along with Venture Global, the expansion project for Venture Global CP2. And so I went on the website, got to look at the pictures and the description and everything. And I had some thoughts on it, some concerns that are shared by a number of friends of mine in the community, and since they're not public speakers, I'm sharing their thoughts and mine. As far as I know, CP2 is still in pre-filing and has not actually been filed. An application has not been filed with the FERC, but it's supposed to happen in pretty much any day now. Nevertheless, in the public announcement, Thomas, representing the police jury, said, "We are gratified for their investment in our community. And CP2 is the kind of public-private partnership that means we can leave Cameron Parish better than we found it." And that's a pretty sweeping statement, and not really sure how a large industrial expansion over an area that was previously natural woods and recreation area is leaving it better. But I'm sure that there's other considerations. So clearly, even though it's not been filed, the jury's already given its blessing to the project. There's been no public information that I'm aware of or public input on it, and it won't happen until the FERC holds hearings, which these days the hearings are held virtually. No one gets to hear you make comments. You just talk to the one person at the FERC and tell them what you got to say, and they write it down. It's not like in the old days when we had big gatherings, you know, in Johnson Bayou and various places, and everybody got to talk and in front of other people. It's all private now. And in my experience, when you get to that point, it's over. You know, they'll respond to your comments, but no changes are ever made after that comment period because all the work has already been done. The Port Commission, who has already signed a lease option for Monkey Island, is obviously fully behind the project, and in fact, in their lease agreement, they have to agree to support and advocate for the project. So it's, you know, it's pretty much a done deal, even though it's not even been applied at FERC yet. That is, even though it just became public last week. So the people who will have to live next door to this really big liquefaction facility, they weren't asked what they think about it. The people whose heritage of going out to 11 Oaks, going out to East Jetty Woods, that's all being erased. As going to the jetties was already erased with the first project. The people of Cameron don't feel that this is leaving Cameron better than it was before. It's pretty much a big industrial hole in the middle of our community. The natural environment, who cares? Money talks. Cutting the tip of Monkey Island off for 2 ship berths, and That's interesting. It's a little unclear what will be needed to turn those ships at a right angle to get them into those berths, because that channel is not all that wide there. Not like the big turning basin, you know, down south of the island. So who knows how much more dredging is going to have to take place? It doesn't say. Levin Oaks, East Jetty Woods. East Jetty Woods have been an important landing area for spring migratory birds who cross the entire Gulf of Mexico and come to land there. And they're not going to be able to the next spring after this project starts. Assuming there's even any woods left, I don't know what's been bulldozed because no one can get down there and see. But again, the public didn't have any input into that. Just the aesthetic impact on the Lighthouse Bend recreational facility when the plant's going to come up right up practically against the fencing of the RV park. I just, you know, it's not going to be what we thought it was going to be when it was agreed to back in the day. Back in the day when that CEA was made, we were going to have our nice recreational facility with a pavilion and an RV park, and the plant was going to be way off over there. Now it's going to be right next door. But can't even say. So we'll be trying to celebrate the Cameron Fishing Festival, and we're planning to celebrate the Fur Festival there. That's going to be real natural and outdoorsy, having a gigantic gas plant right next door. And the question with all this being built is, we've been calling ourselves the gateway to the Gulf. How long before that south loop gets closed for security reasons? The gas has to cross the loop to get to the ship berths, whether it's under or over. How long will private vessels be allowed to go there? Who knows? Doesn't say. What happens when all that huge area is elevated? Will the weight of all that rock and dirt contribute further to subsidence in this area? Because there's nothing under there but mud. You know, you pile all that stuff up. What's that going to do to the to the land in this area? And what will be the impact on storm surge when it comes and has to go around that thing? And we know there will be another storm surge. It's going to happen. What will be the impact of that big and elevated area? And the drainage, when it rains and it normally floods up in that north area, will that be impacted? How will that be addressed? We don't know any of those things because the filing hasn't been made. And yet it's been already publicly supported by the police jury and the court, and nobody had any input into that. I personally don't even understand how the noise level can be under 50 decibels right next to the plant. But that's what they say, but there won't be any way to test that until after it's built. And people who live near it, even 50 decibels constantly is something that they didn't have before. They used to be able to sit out and listen to the birds, and that close to the coast, when the south wind is blowing, you hear the Gulf. Now you're going to hear all day long and all night long. Doesn't have to be loud to be annoying. So you can say it's only a few people being impacted, and they can move. Really? First, why should they? And second, where are they going to go? There's not like there's any other place to move to in Cameron. There's no housing. There's no land for sale. RV parks have taken up every spare inch of available land that you could have purchased or rented. So where are they going to go? So let's just finish depopulating Cameron of all its native residents, because there's plenty of temporary workers in campers for now until it's all done, and they all leave. Then we have acres of gravel RV parks, just all over town. Rita took our school and our grocery stores and our drugstore. Laura took all the churches and our bank. LNG took the jetties, which generations of Cameronites have walked on, fished from, watch ships and shrimp boats in the channel from, and watch the storms as they approach the coast. This was what we did. This is how we grew up. Can't do that anymore. It's gone. We were supposed to get a water taxi to take us down there to the jetties. But, you know, y'all have already discussed moving that pier to Rutherford Beach, in which case there won't be any need for a water taxi, so we will not have any access to the jetties ever again, unless we're able to take a four-wheeler along the beach, which not everybody has access to that sort of thing. I don't. So, I'm gonna ask a hard question, but I think somebody needs to say it. If a facility of this size was proposed for the middle of any other community in the parish, would it be supported? I don't think so. Grand Lake rebelled a few years ago against a truck stop at Boone's Corner. Hackberry nearly had a riot over the man camp south of town. People don't want change in their communities like that. But it's okay to put it in the middle of Cameron. Affecting the people's environment doesn't matter unless you live here. And all this is one reason why I don't anymore. But I'm speaking for the people who are here and don't have an option to move. And for my history that's just being erased. And it's hard to see everything you grew up with torn away. And 200 well-paying jobs, permanent jobs, won't affect me and my family. Won't impact us at all. I don't think it's going to affect many of the people who are living in Cameron right now. There's a few people who might get a job there, but most of them are not going to benefit. But we will have 2,300 more construction workers driving in daily. And I've heard from residents how scary it is to pick up their kids after school and bring them home and nearly get run over by people trying to get out from the plant and passing when it's not safe. I've heard from bus drivers that people are not stopping for the buses because they're in a hurry to get to work. We'll have to deal with that. So I've been told that the proper venue for all these concerns is in the first public comment period, which, you know, that could be a year from now, and like I said, it's all going to be settled by then. I'm just speaking to you now and in public and on camera because you all speak for Cameron Parish. And you are like the only people who have any opportunity to have any influence on these things. And I know it's already been decided. I know y'all have already seen these pictures that I just saw this week. And you already knew what's going to happen. And some of you will benefit financially from it, one way or another. So you have every reason to support it. But a lot of people won't. And a lot of people will be very sad to see what used to be a nice place to live turn into Westlake, Moss. So that's all I've got to say.
And I want to go on record as seconding and concurring with everything that she said, because I live close to that plant.
Thank you, Ms. Cindy. And I'll mention a little bit as I work at Venture. I have a job out there. And there's a lot of locals that do have jobs out there. And going back to leaving Cameron Parish, I remember when we had 500 kids probably in Cameron Elementary. We had probably 350 in Creole. In our class in Grand Chenier was probably one of the biggest classes. We had 28 in my class. But before Rita, we still had a mass exodus going on because I probably had 5 people in our graduating class. We had 81 people back in '82. And I bet we had 5 of us left down here probably in '05. Maybe a few more. Me, Kim and Reggie, Leanne, a few of us. But it's been going on for years. There was no jobs down here. So everybody had to leave here to find jobs. You know, and then I wish my kids would be able to work down here if they wanted to. This would present an opportunity, these plants, you know, for anybody that would want to come back home. But the cost of insurance is what's the thing killing everything. I mean, by the time they come down here, start a house pad or pilings or start building a home, and you're paying $7,000 in insurance a year to live here, I mean, then I imagine it's getting further and further north as far as the high insurance. You know, so it's for everybody leaving the parish. I mean, I'm sad too, Miss Cindy. I go to Grand Chenier. I was raised there, been in Creole 36 years now, and come to Cameron and see everything that's destroyed. I mean, and people that have been whipped and beat down with these storms. I mean, it's tough to take a whipping and then keep getting back up for more. You know, so I can understand why a lot of people have left, you know. But to me, this is another opportunity. I know I was raised with a gas processing plant in our backyard. I mean, it wasn't here that it was close to that main highway out there. And I mean, it had big G frame 5 turbines spinning. I mean, we were used to the noise, you know, but I mean, your daddy worked out there, I believe, you know. So, but I mean, I know people hate to see change, and we hated to see these hurricanes. I mean, it's beat us all down, you know. I'm just blessed to have a home left that I can repair to be staying down here, you know. If not, I'd have my building and a big camper to live in, and, you know, until I would retire one of these days, maybe not be able to travel. But other than that, I mean, this is going to be, we don't have the docks used to be lined with cranes. I mean, you could, if you want a job, hey, they might offer you 50 cents more an hour next door. You take off and you go to that dock and work. There's no docks left down here. There's no work. And this is a way of giving people jobs, you know. Now, there's quite a few locals that are out there, you know.
Well, one of the things too is like Grand Lake, she mentioned that they didn't want the truck stop and stuff. But Cameron has always been an industrial town, from the oil field, the Pogey plants, you know. So it's really no difference having it's just a different, it's not the Pogey plant, it's not the oil field, it's a natural gas plant. But in a way, I can kind of see that, because that's just people living up there. It's a bedroom community. But Cameron is an industrial town. You know, always has been since I was at Burt, you know, I mean, that I can remember. So,
Mr. Thomas,
it's a little bit different.
my land and my house butt against where this is gonna be built. Do you think I should be, if this is gonna butt against your property and your house, should you be supportive of that?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I've told people I wish they'd build another road and put plants all on that road too, you know, I mean.
There ain't no way you would wanna look at a 30-foot pylon.
But just because just because you're looking at that thing, that's a buffer zone. Don't mean the plant's gonna be up against your property. They have to have a buffer zone so far around it. So just because you're looking at a blue line doesn't mean it's gonna be there.
Where I don't have to be impacted if there's a leak or something at the plant.
Well, I mean, no difference. People don't know what we used to load out on boats was radiation, everything else, you know, I mean, that was every day.
Just because they don't know, don't make it right.
Well, I'm just saying that it's been done here
So
since
I
the beginning of
just turn a
time,
blind
so.
eye and just say, man, let me have a barbecue, good, that's a good neighbor, that's bullshit.
Yeah, well, we can go on and beat this
Them
thing
plants are more safe than
forever.
anything in the world.
Yeah.
They're a safe place to be.
Mr. President,
Look,
Mr. Chairman,
we're gonna,
I'd like to say one thing real quick. You have the right to ask questions, and the FERC permitting is a place to ask it. You're right about that. But I will say, if you provide us with an itemized list of your concerns, we'll support you in getting every answer that you have coming from the FERC people if you provide it to us. So, that's all I gotta say.
What did he do?
He said MF, y'all.
No, what did he do at the back of it?
He threw a bottle in the trash can.
Who's that guy?
y'all, anybody else have anything to comment?
Did you hear me, Miss Cindy? Not very well. If you provide us a list, we'll make sure that we get the answers to your questions as best we can.
And with the COVID stuff, I mean, we all without masks now. I don't know why they can't have the FERC hearings like they used to back when Chenier was trying to get them. I don't know.
They just had one in Hackberry, and everybody was welcome.
You know, so,
The open houses are coming. I mean, they are.
seem like it.
But
They have
she-
to.
But she said, with the COVID, it messed things up. There were a lot of meetings that weren't held that should be held. If we want a public meeting and they have a hesitancy to do so, we can ask for one, and we can get one. So we'll make sure that happens. That's why I'm saying if we have questions, we make sure we get the answers.
We can do that.
Even before COVID, they quit having open public hearings. I think because in some other communities, they got really
Violent.
and so they just quit having them. You go in, you talk to a person in a little private room and tell them what you want to say, and then you leave. That's their public hearing. That's the current state of public hearings.
They just had one in Hackberry and everybody was welcome. It was all open meeting.
I've been to others that it wasn't open.
But we'll see,
I think that's
More
the,
recently.
We'll see if they can do it.
yeah,
do
we'll see if
something.
we can make it publicly.
That'd be good.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay,
Insist that they be public, don't just ask, insist.
Well, I don't know what the law
It's
is.
the firm.
I don't know
You
what the
don't- you can't tell.
governor
yeah,
did.
that's the government, I mean, we can, we'll do 4-lane that highway down here, but sure, but they ain't gonna do it, you know, I mean, so, they do what they want, you know. All right, we have, Katie, you wanna give us an update, B, or?
Yes, sir. I have just 3 things. So the first thing is you received a thank you letter from Bradley Poussin with the Cameron County Ag Office. And I was going to read it to you guys because it's really sweet. And his 4-H'er signed the opposite page. So, dear Cameron Parish Police Jury members, on behalf of 4-H'ers in Cameron Parish, we would like to express our sincere appreciation for your generosity towards the Cameron Parish 4-H Shooting Sports Program. With your help by allowing us to use parish facilities, we are able to train and teach our young people properly in the shooting arts. In over 100 years of existence, 4-H has been meeting the needs of young people by teaching leadership, citizenship, and life skills. Your involvement today helps support scholarships and educational programs such as character education, outdoor skills, livestock, camping, and citizenship. These types of programs, as you know, are important in enhancing the individual experience 4-H provides each youth. Again, thank you for your generosity and support for the shooting sports program of Cameron 4-H and helping 4-H'ers make the best better. So I thought that was very thoughtful and sweet. The next thing, on Tuesday morning, Mr. Butch and I attended the DOTD Priority Program meeting. Shane Manuel attended with us as well as the Assistant Road and Bridge Superintendent. And we were able to listen to what their priority projects are in Cameron Parish, and we were also able to provide a public comment. Mr. Butch provided the first comment of the morning, and it was a very good, genuine comment. He talked to them about the pontoon bridge, the security issues that are arising and when it breaks so often, and then if they have to use the other bridge, and if, you know, especially during evacuation routes, if something were to happen and both bridges were out at the same time, you know, the residents would be trapped on the island. So he provided some comments to that and expressed some interest in maybe them exploring other ways to fix the bridge. If they're going to fix it, maybe look at maybe replacing it with a brand new fixed span type bridge. That's something he asked for them just to get some information on, to see if that's something that the community could support, if DOTD could support it. So that was very well received by the staff. So thank you, Mr. Butch, for providing that comment. I also provided a comment on behalf of the entire parish for them to look at LA 27 from Hackberry that loops all the way around through back to the Clo exit. It's being marketed as a Creole Nature Trail. There's multiple LNG investment along that route, and so between workers, residents, and tourists, it's really a heavily traveled road. It goes underwater in Hackberry. So we told the staff that we wanted them to look at maybe elevating that road a little bit to keep it from going underwater, and then also adding shoulders and widening and making lanes for people to pull off of LA 27. So you have all your birders and your tourists, or if you have any motorists that are having car trouble, there's a full lane to safely pull over and park, and it wouldn't interrupt or restrict the travel. So like I said, it was both comments were very well received by the staff, and they also provided us a update on their priority projects. And I'm just gonna go through those just for a few minutes with you. I gave you a map just to put things in perspective. This was disseminated at the meeting on Tuesday, and it's the entire region that they were talking about. And in my opinion, Cameron Parish has quite a lot of projects compared to other parishes throughout the region. And so I think they're doing a very good job, making sure that they're present in Cameron Parish and that they are keeping up with the infrastructure, since we have such an influx of motorists on our roads. So what they have in their priority project right now for letting in 2022, which means they plan to have a contractor on board to start the work in 2022. LA 717, the Klondike Canal and Bayou Bridges are on that list for repair. Superior Canal Bridge on LA 82 is on the list. Kelso Bayou Bridge on LA 27. The Pontoon Bridge on LA 384. And then designing the Cameron Ferry is all in their project list for 2022. There's gonna be contracts signed and delivered to contractors to start work on all of this. Overlay projects, Grand Chenier, LA 82, all the way, the parts of the segments of LA 82 that hadn't been overlaid, those are gonna get resurfaced. And then East Creole Road from the red light all the way to Murray Road. The other 3 projects that are on the list, now these won't have a contract in 2022, but the design and the project will be developed and a timeline will be provided. And those projects are repairing the Mermentau River Bridge, Kelso and Ellender Bridge, the entrance and exits and all the electrical, and then Canal Bridge on LA 384. So that is what's currently under construction or under project development per DOTD's schedule. So do you have any questions before I move on to the next topic? Or any comments?
You're looking at this map, and if you look at the project and when they're supposed to start, the only thing that I see that's gonna affect us is gonna be on one road, really. Projects to be let between 21 and 22. What is that, 384? Can't see it.
That's great.
The rest of it is just projects projected. And then projects scheduled to be let in 22, 23. I don't see anything in Cameron Parish.
Yes, the Klondike, the little yellow dots.
Mhm.
Can't see that. I mean,
Yeah, it's hard to see.
I tried to make it as big as
The
possible.
bridges or something?
Yeah, there's some dots, that's gotta be.
Bridges.
Oh, yeah, that's on
Bridges.
717, yeah. 2 cement bridges, you got a widener. That's state bridges.
it just looks like Cameron Parish got put back on back burners again to me.
Oh, no, we have quite a few projects, every community. I mean, when you look at it compared to what maybe one, if you look at like Beauregard Parish, they have state road going through the Ritter. That's something that they always do. But for the amount of state roads that we have in our parish, the rate of investment in state projects versus the rate of investment in the other parishes, we come out higher. We only really have, 3 state roads in our parish?
Yeah,
So,
state roads that hasn't been looked at in years and years and years.
And they're on the list. The only thing that really wasn't on the list that has been a constant request from the jury was the elevating 27 and Hackberry, and then adding shoulders on 27, LA 27.
That's been on there for, what, 6 years?
That's the project we request every year through capital outlay, and it has not received any traction as of yet.
Over 20 years we've been putting that on.
It's been a long time.
But there is work going on in the next year, year and a half, work this fiscal year and then work next fiscal year. It is all going through the different stages. So, I mean, we were really, Mr. Butch and I, and Representative Boyack, he attended as well, and he provided a few comments. We all were very satisfied with the way the meeting went and the amount of attention has been paid to Cameron Parish. And at that meeting, the only other project that any of the legislators and staff members even mentioned that weren't Cameron Parish was the, what's the name of that bridge by, on Nelson Road? One member brought that to the attention. I can't think of what it's called. Starts with a C. Oh.
Nelson Road?
Nelson Road, that used to be a name of the festival. They changed the name of it. Contraband Bayou Bridge. That's the only other project that came up in that hearing for the entire region. Everything else that was talked about were Cameron Parish projects, Cameron Parish comments.
But with the passing of the infrastructure bill, did they see any more monies coming and maybe an increase in overlays? Did they talk about that at all?
Yes, they are currently developing their state priority projects for the infrastructure funds. This is just projects funded with their normal maintenance programs
Okay.
And then this green one here, that's.
that they take out of their own operating funds. Any grant funds will be competitive. Those will be handled in a different manner.
And other than that, everything else is in red. I don't see where, okay, over here,
Anybody,
2 spots.
you have some more, B?
Just one more thing, the other spreadsheet that I tried to make large enough for you guys is just our normal, we presented this at our meeting last month. Just to kind of keep everyone up to date on all of the parish buildings and the status of repair, insurance versus FEMA obligations. And so this is updated for December, and this is just something that I'm gonna provide to you every meeting. Not a lot has changed for a lot of the other projects, like the recreation projects and stuff. That is all still being handled mainly by the rec staff. They're gonna bid that out separately and get force account labor to repair what they're able to repair without a private contractor. Governmental buildings, we are very close to asking for authority from you guys to bid out repairs to the East Annex, West Annex, Courthouse, Jail, and the Cameron Fisheries. We were going back and forth about whether we should bid it together or if we think we can get more competitive bids separately. And so as it stands today, you're thinking about separating Cameron Fishery from all of the other Courthouse Square projects. So we're waiting on construction documents for the jail. That is the only thing we're waiting on. And we'll come to you guys with the estimate of the cost estimate for the project as a whole, and then what it's gonna break down per building. And we'll ask for authority from you guys to bid that. That's something that we're projecting February 2022.
Is there any projects ongoing right now?
So, yes, we have Big Lake Pier. The notice to proceed has been issued to fix that. They cut a lot of the improvements out of it. We got that project down to less than $100,000. And so the PW is going through obligation right now. We're expecting to get the full 90% for that project for repairs. So we went ahead and issued the notice to proceed for that one, since it's something that's typically used by the public. We don't want anyone to get hurt on it. So that project, all of the libraries, they're on the list. They are on the second page. Hackberry, you accepted bids in November, so that's a full new construction. That is something that's not related to disaster, though. That is something that was authorized by the board pre-LOR to build a brand new library on the main strip. So what we're gonna do is tear down and demo the old library in Hackberry and take any PW funds for that and direct it toward an alternate project, improved project for the library in Hackberry. Most of the other branches are under construction right now. They're projected to have substantial completion in early the first quarter of 2022. It was for January 2022, but I think it's going to be pushed back, change order, until February, maybe March at the latest. The only libraries that have not been touched are the Cameron Library and the Lowry Library. So they're almost 100%, the ones that are under construction are almost 100% complete. All of your boat launches piers will be fixed after the Big Lake Pier. The M&C is actually the contractor. They're gonna work on it today. They're gonna start getting their notice to proceed. Was last week. We should get a timeline from them either this week or next week on when they're gonna start construction. So that'll close out all your parks, piers, and boat launches. Your multi-purpose buildings, Johnson Bayou, Hackberry, both are handling that in-house. They're on board. They're contracting that. We decided not to replace the Creole multi-purpose building. And so the ones that are left are Cameron, Grand Lake, and Klondike. Our Grand Lake multi-purpose building is being funded now through state capital outlay funds. So we are signing contracts with our architect. That'll be on the agenda next month to sign a whole new contract. That way it's compliant with our state surplus funds. So that's gonna be going through schematic design. They got a notice to proceed to get it through schematic design. We should expect that in January 2022. Our Cameron one, there was bid and we just suspended it temporarily. We're waiting on some FEMA funds to be obligated. We expect to restart that project in January 22 as well. And then the Klondike multipurpose building is handled in-house by our staff. Monty Pierce has been working on that project. And so fire stations, we had a meeting with the Grand Lake Fire Board last week. After we went to the board and we showed them how much insurance money they received, and then what, if they decided to use FEMA funds, what they would have to construct. If they were going to use FEMA funds, they were going to have to construct a $1 million building, because you have to construct it to FEMA's codes. Parish has a lot lesser building requirements. So they feel that they can build a brand new substation in Big Lake with their insurance funds. They got about $110,000 in insurance funds. So that board decided to handle that in-house with insurance funds only. And then they also voted to get through schematic design for the Grand Lake Fire Station, which is the one off of 384. That's the one that's going to be a non-traditional type building that we were talking about. Still build the fire station, but instead of it sitting empty all year long because you don't have any full-time firemen, maybe letting the sheriff's office take over some of that office space, and you could have your dispatchers running uninterrupted all the time out of that Grand Lake location. So for any disaster, any storm, even like a potential tropical storm threat, typically the dispatchers have to move, and we have to convert our 911 system to Lake Charles. And then once our 911 dispatchers get set back up at their temporary location, then they take it back over. So there's a big lapse in coverage during that transition. If they worked out of Grand Lake all the time, then you would never have that lapse. So it would just be your dispatchers that could be there. And then because they're working out of there, it would keep the building clean, it would be used, they would, help with maintenance, offset some of the costs. So we felt like that could be a good use for that fire station. We're trying to make sure that when we build any new buildings, it's gonna have multiple uses. It's not gonna be used just for one entity for one purpose. So that's where we are with our Grand Lake fire stations.
Okay, is that where the sheriff's wanting to put in money to, if he want to add money to that so he can have his dispatchers there?
Dispatchers, that is definitely a conversation that we still need to have with the sheriff, talking about numbers. He does want to put his dispatchers there. He does want to share the space, but negotiating a CEA for a cost, that hasn't been done yet. Right now, we're just going through schematic design. And now the station's going to be built the way it's going to be built, regardless if the sheriff moves in it. But we're trying to get the sheriff in there to help offset some of the cost.
Same thing with the barn too, parish barn.
The barn, we were going to have that conversation at the last meeting, but unfortunately the sheriff couldn't come. So we're going to have to schedule another meeting with him and his staff after the first of the year to discuss that.
All right.
The library in Hackberry, you say you're gonna have it torn down?
The one that's there, yes. It's in a flood zone, and it's not elevated, it's not up to current, elevation requirements, it's flooded twice. What the library board was gonna do before Hurricane Laura was build their new one and then just sell it to someone. But it was damaged for Laura, they didn't make any repairs to it, so, that's something
Actually, I
that,
thought the deputies was using that right now.
they are using that right now, but it's.
Well, why can't that not be given away or sold?
They can, if that's what the library board wants to do.
Well,
They haven't made a decision about it yet.
Okay, because I don't see why you can't give it away or sell it instead of paying to have it destroyed.
Well, the deputies are using it right now, but the police jury has been paying for it. Like if they're gonna use it as their substation, the sheriff's gonna want the police jury to pay for that building to house his substation
And do all the upgrades.
and do all the upgrades.
And
No,
lift it.
He
That's
gets all
why
tear
she's
down.
wanting to tear it down.
Well, pre-Laura, this
I
is
think,
not
Curtis,
conversation.
if we tear it down, we can take that money, and take the money, put on the new building.
Yeah,
Do an alternate
Yeah,
project.
do an alternate project.
Right.
Not, it's gotta go back on that building.
yeah.
and we'll have to insure it, it's costly to insure, because like I said, it's not elevated. And, or we could try and sell it, but we would sell it as is, but it's right next to the ambulance station, and so they already are kind of crowded where they are. I know you've been there, Mr. Curtis, but you're at the library and then you walk out and it's the Taj Mahal ambulance station. It's like towers over you.
Just wondering.
The library board hasn't made a decision yet on what they want to do with it. I suggested, let's just tear it down, then you don't have to pay insurance on it. But they would have to fix it before they would sell it or sell it as is. But right now, the sheriff's just been using it to store stuff. The deputies go in there if they need to write a report, but it's not really a building that's open to the public and everything. It has a lot, quite extensive damage to the roof and some of the sheetrock inside of it. So the library board's focused on building their brand new one and moving forward with that. And that'll be up to the library board to decide if they want to sell it or not. And the reason why the sheriff's office is using it, because they lost the building that we had provided for them in Hurricane Laura, which was that old Hackberry permit office. That was their substation. And I don't know where it ended up. It was gone. So that's kind of where we are with everything.
Katie,
Yes, sir.
hold on 1 second before you go any further.
Yes, sir.
You said you're re-signing the contract with the architect to go out?
For the multipurpose building?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Are we negotiating their fees at all?
Yes, that's what the contract's for, and we're doing it with the assistance of our state staff that are gonna manage our capital outlay grants.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Kate?
I don't have anything else unless you guys wanna ask specifically about a project. I think Mr. Miles has something that he wants to give you guys an update on as well.
So earlier in the year, we had to do the substantial damage letters to everybody for FEMA. It's a requirement being in the program. We have completed it. We're done. FEMA closed it out. We got to 80% of what they needed of all the ones they identified. We're at 80%, so they closed it out. We're done. We don't have to send no more letters. We don't have to chase people down trying to get permits done or what they did or they tore it down or what, so that's what I got.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate
So we won't be harassing y'all people no more.
it. Appreciate it.
No more letters.
Thank y'all.
What is just, oh, man.
Go ahead.
The right of entry or
Yes, sir.
private property.
The PPDR?
Yeah, where we at with that?
So we submitted the application to FEMA. We had one meeting with FEMA and the state GOSEP staff about it. They're reviewing it, and what we were hoping to do is get a list of eligible properties prior to rebidding the contractor, because we feel like we might could get more participation and a better price if we can provide the list of everything that's gonna be eligible, and then if you guys decide to do what's eligible and then also bid out what's ineligible, but you still wanna do it, then I'll have those costs ready for you to present. So that's something that, we're gonna talk about January, February at the latest. But
I
FEMA
was
has the
just-
application.
I was just wondering, is somebody with FEMA contacting our residents about, right?
They shouldn't be.
Is anybody contacting our residents about right of entry?
Now, our contractor is Roston, and they are supposed to be talking to all of the residents and going through each application, and if it was missing something, when FEMA says you're missing this particular paperwork or we need proof of insurance, Roston's staff are the ones that are gonna contact them to get follow-up information.
Okay. I had one of our residents call me and said that somebody had contacted them and they was gonna follow up something in a week or so.
Yes,
I
that's
was,
our,
but they didn't have a clue who it was. I thought maybe y'all knew.
yep, it's Roston, they're doing that for us as part of the application period.
And we directed a lot of people to sign up for it too, in this process of the substantial damage. They'll tell us that they want to tear it down or whatever. So we direct them to Danny's staff to get signed up, or whoever they need to sign up with.
All right.
So any timeline on when, because man, Creo, they waiting on, Stephen and them will done clean that up, but if they do anything with it, they're gonna charge them. I mean, they won't do it, they won't pick it up, they're gonna leave it like it is.
Correct. So the application was submitted, like I said, we had a meeting with GOSEP and FEMA both already. It was like the introduction meeting. They're going through the application. We don't have a call scheduled with them yet. In January is when we're supposed to have our follow-up call scheduled to see, okay, these are the properties that are missing this type of documents. This is what you still need to get to submit. And they'll vet everything, and they should produce us a list of what's 100% eligible, what's 100% ineligible, and then everything in between. If it's follow-up, if it's missing documentation, we'll have that list to get to provide. I don't know how long it takes, but they are working on it. Like I said, we're through the first round. We got 2 more rounds to go.
Katie, the trash that's in Grand Lake, you told me that they was working on getting a permit to bury that there?
Who's,
I can't think of his name.
Myers?
Huh?
Danny Marr?
Danny Meyer. Did they get a permit to bury that yet?
Yes,
Oh, they did?
he's
Okay.
fully permitted.
Okay, to bury it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Every-
Last time I
everyone's
talked to you, they
fully
was looking
permitted.
To get a permit to bury it. I was just worried I didn't want to have to haul it off again, you know, 'cause at first it was a staging site, but they was trying to get a permit. to bury it.
Every site is fully permitted to bury their own debris except for Mr. Romero's site. It's the only one that didn't receive his final document. I think it's his SHPO letter that he has to provide. And they were working on it. And so that hasn't received the final permit yet, but they don't have any reason to believe that it won't be permitted.
Okay.
Anything else, Joe? You ready to go? Let's see,
You wanna
executive session?
do you wanna do executive session, or do you wanna go through the agenda first and then go to executive session?
Yeah, let's review the agenda.
First, in case they wanna add on.
We say, Chief.
Well, as long as we can, if we wanna add something to it, can we?
You can still do that.
We can review the agenda. That's what y'all wanna do? What?
What'd you say, Mary?
No, executive session needs to be first, because if y'all come out and wanna add something
Right.
to the agenda, that's when it needs to be done. So then you
Okay.
can review your agenda after
argue with
executive
logic.
session and your add-ons.
So, I guess we'll go.
I move to go in executive session.
Second.
We have a head count?
Yes.
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 Okay, the motion carries. We'll go into executive session. Y'all ready, Kurt?
Motion.
Okay.
I make a motion to come back out of executive session.
Okay, we have a motion by Kurt, second by Lee.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Meeting's back. We, out of executive session,
I make a motion that no actions be taken at this time.
we have a motion by Mr. Kurt,
Second.
second by Mr. Curtis, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Okay.
This stuff won't make an
We're gonna make an announcement at 2 o'clock. It's on the agenda for the 2 o'clock meeting, so we'll make an announcement then. You wanna review the agendas? Cause we haven't reviewed them yet, did we?
Yeah.
I got one, number 20, to go back out for rebid of the Cameron Recreation Center. What's that about?
So the Cameron Recreation Center rejected the bids because they thought.
Came in too high.
They come in too
They were
high?
too much.
Okay.
So I actually have their minutes showing they rejected and asked about to rebid.
And then 21, the Johnson Valley Library decided to keep the,
Because you cannot have a public building that doesn't have.
Without it,
access.
yeah.
And it was a whole lot cheaper and quicker to repair.
I knew
this.
that whenever they was talking about it, so. We gotta pay the bills?
Not this one.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Next meeting.
I'm sure a lot of people would be calling if y'all didn't do that.
I don't have nothing.
I'm good. Good. Good to me. Motion to adjourn. You got anything else, Katie, before we adjourn?
The only thing on the agenda, Mr. Brian
No.
Araby's here today. If you have any questions about the opioid litigation settlement, he's here to answer questions. If you don't have any, then
If you wanna come give us an update, man.
That was the executive session and Tom reviewed the,
Opioid?
documents.
Yeah, all we have is a resolution for you guys to approve. It's previously, we talked about the litigation and the settlement. There's a memorandum of understanding. You approved that, but they've asked us to do a uniform resolution that matches everybody else's approval. So this simply adopts that uniform resolution and authorizes Tom as the DA to sign whatever other documents come out of that process.
All right. That sounds good. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. It's, I think it's on here, but opioids, right?
Yeah, it's on the agenda already.
Yeah. Anything else? Well, we don't need a motion, so we'll.
Meeting adjourned?
Meeting adjourned, and we'll convene at 2 o'clock.
Who made the motion, I'm sorry?
For what?
To adjourn the meeting.
I did.
You don't, just not vote me.